Good afternoon and welcome to the Refined Savage Podcast, guys. Another episode. Hey, let's talk about our sponsors for this show. Viking Coffee. As usual, Viking Coffee, our longest running sponsor, and good pal Evan Armstrong. He is doing fantastic work in Bowling Green, Ohio, brewing up the best coffee I have ever had. I drink it every single day. He gave me some sample packs that I've been giving out to people. A lot of people competed at our Highlander, got sample packs, and people are just knocking down my door for this guy's coffee. It is definitely a breed apart. You want to check it out. Store-bought coffee is garbage. Give him a shout out at vikingcoffeeco.com. Use the code VikingCoffee10 at checkout for 10% off. Cerberus Strength. Cerberus is the major player in strongman events. You've seen him. If you go to a strongman competition, expect to see Cerberus gear everywhere, from straps and wraps to belts and t-shirts. They've got their goods on some of the best athletes in the game, and they sponsor some incredible athletes as well. You Highland Games folks, I want you to take advantage of these guys, man. Tacky, smelling salts, wraps, knee sleeves, anything you could want from them. They also have the indoor throwing bags. We're now in indoor season, and you guys should be throwing indoor weights and lifting heavily. So get some strongman throwing bags from these guys. They can be loaded from any weights, but they've got nice little ones for throwing either for height or distance, and they're perfect for what we do. Get a hold of them at cerberus-strength.us. Use the code RefinedSavage10 at checkout for 10% off. The good people at Warrior CBD Oil would like you to know that they've got your back. They've got your back, they've got your front, they've got your elbows and knees as well. Warrior CBD, the best CBD oil I have ever tried. I tell people all the time, don't buy the garbage around here in Ohio or any other state, you know, from the local head shops or from the local grocery stores. Check out Warrior CBD. Their stuff is legit. I've tried them all. Warrior's been the best I've ever tried. WarriorCBDofficial.com. Whether it's muscle or joint injuries, or you need some help sleeping, or you have anxiety issues, or you just want to relax, or if you have a spastic dog, these folks will help you. Warrior20 off, the code at checkout to receive 20% off your first order. Serious Steel. So I've gotten hooked up with Serious Steel through Chad Clark, and these guys are some of my favorite people on the planet. They are huge supporters of the show. When we needed prizes for the Highlander, a huge box arrived with all kinds of straps and wrist wraps, and we were passing them out, and people could not have been happier about them. You people who got those at the Highlander, take some pics and tag both Refined Savage Podcast and Serious Steel in them so they can see those straps and wraps in action. But if you need anything for your home gym, commercial gym, your CrossFit box, whatever, these guys have it all. Don't go to the big giant international companies. Check out SeriousSteel.com and get everything you could possibly need for your strength journey. Savage at checkout for 10% off. Iron and Stone Strength. Iron and Stone Strength. Eric up there has a fantastic business going. First of all, his gym is kicking ass. He's got all these meathead, knuckle-dragging monsters up there lifting heavy weights and throwing stones around. And his gear is the best. I just bought a t-shirt from them. Super psyched. Really nice looking gear too. You know, not garbage athletic apparel that you'd be afraid to wear out at night. You can wear this stuff out. You won't have to be embarrassed because it's nice looking. IronandStoneStrength.com. Use the code RefinedSavage at checkout for 20% off. And finally today, Stay Classy Meats. I am 100% carnivore. I've been on that carnivore diet since January. Why? Because it's working for me. I don't prescribe it to anybody else, but for yours truly, it's working really well. Some of you have been seeing on Instagram my journey over the last few months. I've dropped about 50 pounds, and my strength levels are still very, very high. My cardio is through the roof. I'm choking motherfuckers out at jiu-jitsu. I'm digging it. All from meat-based diet. Who needs a vegetable, right? Maybe you do. I don't know. But all my meat since June has been coming from Stay Classy Meats. I get the Elite box from them. 35 pounds of the most gorgeous animal flesh you could possibly imagine. These animals are raised on small batch farms. They're eating beautiful, wonderful, tasty Montana grass and drinking from mountain streams. It makes a huge difference in the way the meat tastes. Trust me, no hormones. Humanely treated. If you're going to eat meat and you're not hunting it yourself, this is the way to go. Check them out at stayclassymeats.com. Look at the Build Your Own box, and if you have any questions, give me a holler, and I'll help you. I'll tell you exactly what my favorites are, and you can build your own box from there. Use the code SAVAGE at checkout for 10% off. Today on the show, we have Steve Reynolds. Steve Reynolds was a member of the Army's 10th Mountain Brigade. Elite tip of the spear unit in the U.S. Army. These guys, if you've read the book Outlaw Platoon by Sean Purnell, that was 10th Mountain Brigade. These guys are tip of the spear. We talked about his time in the military. We talked about some of the missions he went on, some of the things he had to go through just to get to the military. We just talked about masculinity and all-out badassery, and it was a great podcast and a lot of fun. And I think you guys are going to dig it. So check it out, share this with your friends, and we will see you at the end. Steve Reynolds, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So, people, whether you know this or not, you've been mentioned on this show probably 4 or 5 times. So, the first time I met you, Isaac brought you in, and you guys just did a tire workout because you were like you were on the team together, right?
We went through the tryout together. That's how I met him.
Okay, explain that.
So it was like a selection process. I'm from Michigan. He's from Ohio. Never met, and we were assigned like the same vehicle.
Okay.
So we had to ride in the same vehicle together every day, and obviously small talk. We're all going through the same crap, and we both ended up making it. And then he went to the team because they don't just take a whole new class and put him on.
Right.
It's they always want people with experience, so it's like it tapers off. And he had gone to the team prior to me, but I knew I was going, and I was getting ready to come to the team, and I just wanted to touch ground with him again and be like, how is it? Like, what should I get ready for? And he's like, well, why don't you come down to Ohio and we can get a workout in? I'm like, all right. And so we came here. And he's like, well, what do you want to do for a workout? And so I just went ahead and spit out something I'm comfortable doing.
Yeah.
Because it's Isaac.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And he's like, all right, we can do that. He's like, and then we're going to throw in some tire flips. And I'm like, I've never done tire flips before.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you'll be fine. And I'm like, all right. And so he was flipping, I think, the
800-pounder.
Yeah.
Which is fucking sick.
And then I think I started with the 400 or 500.
I was watching you guys. You started light, but then you jumped right up.
Because I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I kind of got this. It still was like, wow, this is hard. But then he's like, you can go heavier, and it's Isaac. I'm like, all right, dude.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I was flipping the 800 or 700, whatever.
Yeah, you're flipping that 800-pound tire.
It was not comfortable at all. Of course, here's this workout that I was like, oh, I'm going to be able to keep up with Isaac. And he was just
Isaac's the best tire flipper I've ever seen. I've seen him do shit he did a couple weeks where that's all he did. Every day he came in and flipped tires for 30 minutes, and he was just...
And he doesn't look like the build to be doing that. He looks like he's in shape and everything, but he does not look like what he can do. Right.
And he probably only weighs 180 pounds or something, but you guys were flipping that 800-pound tire, so I've told that story 100 times. That here this guy just comes in off the street, all of a sudden he's flipping the 800-pound tire in a workout. Nobody else is doing that,
I would not have done it if Isaac wasn't there to push me. And
I make him work out with me a lot just because he's an animal. He'll just make you do shit you don't want to do. And,
yep.
And to be honest, those are the kind of people. I just had him on the show last week, and that's why he hooked me up with you. Those are the kind of people I want to talk to, and that's, if you ever listen to the show, I find those people. I go out and find them, and whether you are a military guy or a high-level athlete, I'm interested in that tip-of-the-spear guy who just has some kind of mental toughness that the common guy you see at Target doesn't have. And I'm interested in that. And when I met you for that first time, I was like, this motherfucker can go, because you don't just walk up to an 800-pound tire and start doing it. It just doesn't happen. Even if you practice with a lighter one first, 99.9% of the population is not going to flip an 800-pound tire once, let alone for a whole workout.
That's true. I tell that story often also.
Do you really?
Yes. Just because, it was something I didn't think I would ever do or capable of doing. Never even thought about doing.
Yeah.
And then here I am in the middle of Ohio.
Right.
Flipping a tire at a gym I've never been to. At weight. I don't even deadlift that often.
What do you do? What do you do training wise?
I've shift from time to time. I don't have a lot of regiment, I guess you could say, or structure.
Yeah.
It's more or less I just pay attention to my body, and I train more for performance now. Not necessarily the look. The look is a side effect.
Absolutely.
Getting ripped or whatever. But I don't plan out my workouts every day. It's I go in there, I think about what I did the day before, and then I'll try to not repeat any of that, but I'll see how I feel or some weakness I want to work on.
Yep.
But that's why it's good. When I work with Isaac, he brings me out of my comfort zone. Sometimes you can get in that routine. Everybody does. But I jumped to CrossFit for a while and then went back to just, hey, let's do some more cardio and keep it there for a while. And then I've recently gotten to calisthenics.
Yeah.
Which is not the easiest for someone that's 6'4".
Sure. Yeah.
I like the challenge, and it's learning. It's keeping me engaged. It's making it fun for me again.
Yeah.
I get bored really easy, so.
I'm the same way, and that's kind of the way I train now. I was a professional strength athlete, so my program used to be super regimented, and now it's I make plan out the night before, and I'll say, what do I need to do, and what haven't I done in a while, and what do I suck at, and that's how, and it's so much, with my attention span being so low, that, I just need something that's going to stimulate me every time I walk in the gym.
So if you were to plan out the night before, would you go into the gym the next day? And would you still make adjustments?
Yeah.
So it's not just I wrote this down, this is what I will do.
Right.
Kind of sucks the fun out of it for me.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll definitely make adjustments. The thing I won't adjust is if I come up with something totally assholic, like a 40-minute something, I won't talk myself into going less. It's just fuck it. I put this down. I'm going to do it. I tell a story. My son and I did a workout, and it was 90 degrees in here, and it was brutal. And we were doing it was 75 or 80, it was 80% of our clean and jerk max, and we were doing clean, hang clean, and then a jerk. And we did that 40 minutes, every minute on the minute for 40 minutes. And about 10 minutes in, he's like, Dad, can we stop at 15? I'm like, no, fuck, we're in this now. We got to keep going,
That's where that mental game comes in, man. It's not always necessarily about the physical push.
Yep.
I like to do ladder workouts sometimes, work your way down, work your way up. And I'll be with some guys or a friend, and let's say we're just going to go 10 to 1. And then once we get to the 3 reps of doing this circuit, they're like, man, what's the point? It's just 3 reps. Let's just
right,
to the next.
Right.
I'm already tired anyway. I'm like, no, it's about the mental game.
Yeah.
It's about finishing what you started.
Man, we have this, and I won't even say if it's a girl or a guy because I don't want anybody getting pissed at me, but we had someone in here the other day young kid, but I had to get on their ass because we were doing this 35-minute workout, and there was 3 minutes left on the clock, and all they had to do was run one more 350-yard run. Just jog it. I don't care if you get into the time gap, just finish it out. And they quit on me, and
I can't stand that.
I just went off, man. I was like, if you fucking quit on this, you're going to quit on life. You're going to quit on your husband. You're going to quit on your family. You're just going to be a quitter. And they got so pissed off at me and stomped around, power walked each other.
Because they spoke the truth.
So mad at me, but they finished it. So, but yeah, that
shit drives me crazy.
I don't know. I did some research. You were 10th Mountain Unit, right?
Yes.
In the Army.
Yes.
And I don't know what the training regiment is like for that, but I've talked to, and I want to get into that with you, but I talked to Isaac about going through Marine Recon, and he said, that was just the biggest thing was just don't fucking quit. Just keep going, And
that's what a lot of it comes down to, really. It's heart and it's mental. I mean, you have to be physically capable for the most part, but I mean, I've pushed myself, I think, to my limit.
Yeah.
But if you never push yourself to your limit, you're never going to know if you're actually putting in 100%, you know?
100%, yeah.
Because you might always be putting in 80.
Yeah.
Thinking you're doing 100, but if you never pushed yourself to that limit of muscle failure you think you're going to die, you know, or like, wow, like I'm sick the next day because I pushed myself so hard, you know, like my body hates me. But I would have a feeling recon was probably much harder than what I did, and it's also a different beast.
Yeah.
With the Army, I was infantry. 10th Mountain is considered light infantry, so it's like the ground and pound, like you're walking everywhere pretty much. Obviously, modern day, we use Humvees a lot.
Right.
But if there's other vets listening, they might be like, oh, this guy's saying it wrong or whatever. But when I was in, the sergeant tried to break it down for me. He's like, you know, right before you came in, there used to be light, medium, and heavy infantry. Heavy infantry being like Bradley vehicles, like they look like miniature tanks type deal. If I use any abbreviations or anything, just
Well, a lot of vets listening, so they'll understand more than I will usually.
And then there's striker vehicles and stuff like that. I was an infantry mortarman, so I shot the tubes, the thump. Not by choice. That was forced on me by the Army, but I didn't even know that was a thing until I went to basic training, that was part of the infantry. So, do you just want me to start from like 10th Mountain or basic training?
Growing up, did you grow up in the Detroit area?
Yes.
So, sports in high school, that kind of stuff?
You know, I did.
Because you're gigantic. You know, you'd think that all the coaches wanted you.
And I'm one of the middle kids.
Yeah.
I was the fourth. And just very competitive with my brothers growing up. Obviously played the Little League stuff, but nothing great. My parents didn't push it. My parents were more about education and music.
Okay.
They didn't get sports. My dad enjoys college football, stuff like that, but that's about it. But since I think maybe I was one of six, I always wanted to do something different than all my brothers.
Be a little different than everybody else, yeah.
Most time, by the time I got to high school, every brother, they just pursue music. But I was like, screw that, like I'm going to wrestle.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that good. You know, freshman year of high school, I was 135.
Whew, same height?
No.
I was going to say, Jesus Christ.
I mean, I was growing, but I hadn't like spurted, you know? And I've always been like the tallest kid in class type deal, or amongst the tallest. And went to wrestling camp that summer at the U of M. Got a little bit better. Sophomore year, wrestled 160. But like my grades were suffering. And every year I wrestled, I was the same weight as the captain.
Yeah.
So like when I was 135, I was a freshman. I was like, I get it. I'm not going to be varsity. And I was the captain's punching bag.
Right.
Hey, get in there and get this guy good.
I had the same experience as a freshman. Yep.
So then sophomore year, I'm like, I put on all this weight. I grew. I come in, new captain, 160.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't win. So I was pretty much done with wrestling after that. Played 1 year of tennis as a joke and ended up liking it.
Yeah, right.
And like that was it for sports pretty much. But I always had that competitive nature, you know, with doing races or what have you. When I went to the Army, at basic training, we did combatives. It's just like hand to hand. It's kind of jiu-jitsu based now. And they picked two guys from each weight class. There's only 3 weight classes. It's just
like light, medium, heavy kind of deal.
Yes, exactly. And they picked 2 guys from each platoon for each weight class, and then they had a tournament. And I was elected as one of our heavyweights, even though when I joined, I was only 180, 185. I was one of the few guys that gained weight at basic training.
Right.
Like 3 meals a day. Holy crap!
Nice.
Most guys lose like a ton of weight.
Sure.
At basic, but I gained. And went to the tournament. I came in second place. The guy that beat me was the other guy from our platoon, so it was good. So our platoon had first and second, but it was just one of those things. Like I fell back on my wrestling experience.
Yep.
You know, if I didn't have that, because I wasn't the most in shape guy at the time. Like, I didn't join the Army until I was 22.
Oh yeah, so you were late.
So I got out of high school and I just pursued punk rock music and a little bit of college here and there just to keep the health insurance.
Yeah.
Working dead end jobs so I could tour whenever I wanted.
What instrument do you play?
I started with guitar and lead vocals in that band, and then by the time we broke up, I was bass player and lead vocals.
Okay.
And then once the band broke up, that's actually what drove me to join the Army.
You just were looking for something else to do, and
I mean, I worked dead end jobs for so long. All my friends were graduating college.
yeah,
And all my friends that went to college, not all my friends went, but Army always appealed to me growing up. Grandparents, both my grandpas fought in World War II. So it was always kind of in me, but I was like, I'd never join unless there was like a war or something.
yeah.
Like who wants, not that firefighters want there to be fires, but if there is a fire, they want to be the one sent in.
You would hope.
You know, so
You would hope.
It's one of those things like, why would you want to train to do something and then not ever do it?
Yeah.
Or like go to school to be a teacher, but never actually teach anyone?
Well, I was a corrections officer for 19 years, and I was a young 220-pound kid at the time, and it was fun, man, wrestling with guys. And I was on the ERU team, and you're doing all this training for ERU, but if they never call you out to put on the ninja suits to go in and pull guys out of cell, what the fuck are you doing? That's what you want.
Yep.
You want to get in there. So you decided to join. Did you know where you were going? I mean, did you have like an idea that what you wanted to do, or? I
knew I wanted to do infantry. I mean, the Iraq War, I was actually on tour. I think I might have been playing a show in Ohio or Indiana when they announced that we were going to war.
Yeah.
And they stopped the whole show, and the promoter went up there and they're like, just so you know, like George Bush just declared war on Iraq or whatever. And I remember like something kind of clicked in me a little bit. And I was just following the war. Like all my friends, like.
So this was like 2005-ish?
I joined in 2005. So this was a 2003. I think it was our second national tour.
Okay.
Where am I going with this?
Why you joined?
So like
and
something
what you
clicked in me, and I was following the war, even though none of my friends really were. They were just like, my circle at that time was just all like musicians and let's try and get record deals.
Yeah.
What's the next show and the scene, And I still followed it, and then the band broke up. I had some medical bills because at this point I didn't have health insurance, and like I wasn't able to work for a little bit because I just had sliced my finger so bad. It was so stupid, but I was like, I gotta get the hell out of Dodge. Like this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm not doing anything now. The only reason I was working dead end jobs was because I wanted to pursue music, and now I'm not pursuing music. I don't like college, and there's a war going on. Like, all right, and so I tried to go to a Marine recruiter. The Marines wouldn't take me.
Why wouldn't they take you?
Too many tattoos.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't have as many as I do right now.
Right.
I was like, what? And so then
such a stupid rule. Still,
I went to a different Marine recruiter, like in a different city.
Yeah.
And we started the process kind of, and then once they realized how much paperwork they're gonna have to do for my tattoos, he was just like, man, you should just try the Army or something. I was like, okay.
It's ridiculous that they have different standards at different branches,
And this is when the Army was kind of desperate for people.
Right.
Or just the military in general, because they were dropping standards. Like, so I went to the Army recruiter, and he's like, what do you want to do? I was like, infantry. And he's like, well, we have to take these tests to make sure you qualify, this, that, and the other. And I was like, tattoos are going to be a problem? And he's like, maybe. I had to write this whole, like, essay or something explaining every tattoo I have.
Oh, Jesus.
And so they want to make sure they're not gang affiliated or racist.
White supremacist.
So, like, I somehow linked almost every tattoo to, like, Christianity somehow. I was just pulling shit out of nowhere. Like, the bird means, souls to heaven or something.
Right, yeah.
But went and took the test, and the guy's like, you can do a lot more than just infantry. And I'm like, no. I was like, I just want infantry. And
do you have a good ASVAB test? Is that why he was saying that? Or?
It was decent. I mean, honestly, I was still I wasn't like, my mind wasn't made up that I wanted to join. I just knew that if I did, I wanted infantry.
Yeah.
And I want to say like 3/4 of the way through the ASVAB, I was like, man, this is boring as hell. And I just started guessing. And I was like, if I fail, that means I'm just not supposed to do this.
Right,
like,
yeah.
Leave it in God's hands. And it ended up all being good. And he's like, you can do this. I'm like, I just want infantry. And he's like, all right, well,
you would end up in the Army band or something if
Yeah, right. Once they find out I played trumpet and everything, but and my mom, of course, was like, be a mechanic. Whatever.
Yeah.
But See, my mom wanted me to join right after high school. There wasn't a war. Once there was a war, she's like, "Oh, you shouldn't go."
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, you don't want me to go."
Yeah.
But so I'm at the. It's not the recruiting station. It's called MEPS. It's in Troy, Michigan.
Okay.
But so I'd already gone there once to take the ASFAB, and then I had to go back again, and I had to do like the physicals, and then it was time to like pick out my contract, and this is when they like really lay it on you.
Yeah.
Like the pressure and you're kind of uncomfortable, and I wasn't like, oh, should I do this? This is a huge decision. They were like, I was like, I want to leave. This was in June. I was like, I want to leave in August, like the end of August.
Get it done. Get out of there.
And because I had a trip planned for Vegas in the beginning of August, and they're like, yeah, but if you leave in like 2 weeks, we'll give you $20,000.
Nice.
And I was like, but this is like a free trip to Vegas. I've never been. This could be my last hurrah before my whole life changes. And I just told her, I was like, I need to step outside. And I just sat there by myself. And I was finally like, you know what? I was like, this would take care of all my medical bills.
Yeah. And Vegas
so
ain't going anywhere.
In there. I was like, all right, let's do this. And like 2 weeks later or whatever it was, I left. And then went down to Georgia. All infantry in the Army, you go to Fort Benning now.
Okay.
Like you don't go to basic anywhere else. And so you have listeners that aren't vets, right? Like, I don't know how much I should break this down.
We have some of both. It's
all right. So regular Army, like if you're not infantry, you go to basic training for 9 weeks.
Okay.
If you're infantry, you go to basic training for like 14 weeks, I believe. Because those guys finish their 9 weeks and then they go from there to their
specialty.
The specialty school.
Gotcha. Infantry,
they combine it in, and there's no one else in there that's not going infantry or I think like Army Scout.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you don't get to leave at 9 weeks and like go to like a regular thing and be treated like a regular human.
Right.
You're just treated like crap for 14 weeks. But so I don't know where I'm going with this, but so that's how it's broken down.
How did you end up in the 10th Mountain? How does that?
That was random.
Okay, it wasn't something you get to pick or try out for.
Once you're in and you've already served at your first duty station,
mm-hmm.
if you're like re-enlist or whatever, you're able to have like a wish list. I did actually. When you join, you have a wish list, but I didn't get any of those picks because I think I had like Germany, Italy, and Hawaii, or Alaska, or something. I got 10th Mountain. It's like the last week of basic, and I'm like, what in the hell? I was like, where's 10th Mountain? And they're like, oh, it's upstate New York. And I had this drill sergeant come up to me, and he's like, what'd you get? It's like 10th Mountain, and he's like, it's a good unit.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, maybe I'm onto something, because that drill sergeant was even with my platoon. He was with another platoon. And he was just like, that's a good place to go. I was like, all right. Not knowing, it's like, a lot of guys, if they've been somewhere else before that, they say 10th Mountain's miserable.
Right.
And especially if you're from the South.
Yeah, I bet.
10th Mountain's miserable for you.
So it's a storied unit. I was doing some research on it, and they've been in some huge battles, and it's a lot of, I don't know what it's like now, but there was like all this footage of these guys on skis and a lot of cold weather
they were started. They were started during World War II.
Yeah,
as a ski combat unit.
Right.
Because I think it was like Finland or something had some ski unit that was very effective.
Right.
And they're like, we need something like this. And
they thought they were
the actual story of them starting is pretty interesting. And then like I think a guy from 10th Mountain's the one that invented the ski lift.
No shit.
Yeah, like they were skiing Aspen before Aspen was the go-to destination. Like they discovered it type as a ski spot. Like if you go, and there's like Olympic skiers that join the unit and other stuff, and there's stories about guys who were just regular assigned there that could not pick up like how to ski.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine trying to ski and shoot.
Well, they have that biathlon where they make you do that.
Yeah,
you know.
But they did have skis at our base and everything.
Right.
Sorry, I just hit the mic.
That's all right.
That's gonna.
No big deal.
They did have skis there and like snowshoes, and we never used them.
Right.
Yeah, we dealt with the snow big time, but it was just we gotta get ready for Iraq. We gotta get ready.
Not much snow in Iraq.
At the time, I mean, so just to give people the idea what time frame this is. So I joined in 2005. I got to 10th Mountain November 2005. And then they told us, hey, you're going to Iraq in August 2006. So we had however many months that is.
And what was the I saw that 10th Mountain did a lot of security for like the elections and stuff. What were you going there to do?
We went, the elections was the deployment before me.
Okay.
And obviously like the vets there were like telling us all the stories and all that. And we were getting ready they didn't tell us until a couple months out. They're like, oh, we're going to the Triangle of Death.
Right. Yeah.
We're like, okay, so then everybody starts doing the research.
Yeah.
What is the Triangle of Death? What the hell?
And what's that?
It's the Sunni Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to relieve this unit from the 101st Airborne. I think 502nd, which is a unit, Black Hearts. There's a book on it. And they got their nose bloodied pretty good. And I remember our battalion commander was like, we're going to lose guys. Like, this was before we even went.
Yeah.
He's like, we're going to lose guys.
Yeah.
Like, it's guaranteed. And I remember when I was in basic training, shooting mortars, like training for the mortar system, they're like, yeah, don't worry about this. You're never going to do this in combat. Like, you're just going to be a regular infantry dude.
Good. This is my specialty, and I'm never going to get to do this in combat.
I was fine with that because I didn't want to be a mortarman.
Right.
And they're like, Baghdad's a city. Like, you can't be shooting mortars, friendly fire, or collateral damage, win the hearts and minds.
Yeah, right.
That type of stuff. And our battalion commander's like, they shoot mortars every day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, crap. This is real deal. And then stories started coming out, and then this one thing made the news of the exact area we're going to. This 101st guys were guarding a bridge, and it was the middle of the night, and they got ambushed, and everybody wiped out.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't find two of the guys, and then they finally found them. I won't go into any details on here, but it was not good.
Yeah.
And then we're like, this is where we're going. And so we got there, and you almost just felt bad for these guys. They just looked exhausted.
Yeah.
Like, all the uniforms were just tattered, and the faces were gaunt. Like,
yeah. How long had they been there?
They had been there for 12 months.
God damn. That's a long deployment.
And then, like, so they do this thing called left seat, right seat. And so they kind of split our platoon in half. Like, half of us were just going to stay back at the base, start learning the type of stuff, whatever. Like, because half of our guys had to go out with their guys and show around the AO, which is area of operation. And so we're listening to the radio, and this is the first time any of us have gone outside the wire. I'm inside the wire. And literally 5 minutes later, we just struck an IED.
Wow.
And we're just like, holy crap. Like, this is no joke.
Yeah.
And it was just a quick reality check. And then, so my job over there was EOD escort, which is explosive ordnance disposal.
We had a guy on here who did that with 82nd Airborne, I think. Zach Gallman. I think he was there the same time you were there, but
could have been.
Yeah.
Was he EOD or was he EOD security?
He was EOD security.
Yeah. You see a lot doing that. And so they're like, you're going to do this, and then we're going to also assist with mortars for different companies, because I was with the headquarters company.
Mm-hmm.
So, and at the time, I didn't like being headquarters company, but looking back at my deployment, I was able to see everything. Like,
yeah.
Because I got to get attached to Delta Company, Charlie Company, or Echo, whatever. Not Echo. Alpha Company, all this stuff. But, so, for my first 2 or 3 months, I just did EOD security. A lot happened. We lost one guy from our platoon, and then another guy lost his leg. The stress was unreal. So it got to the point, like, I was grinding my teeth.
Yeah.
Like, while I was awake.
Yeah.
And I remember it was so bad I couldn't even eat because my jaw was hurting so bad. And the the medic would try to like help me out here and there, and like he'd massage my jaw.
Yeah.
And like try to give me like some type of muscle relaxer here and there. But eventually, like, hey, we're gonna send you out to Delta Company real quick. Have some time off the road for a little bit. I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah, right.
I had enough of the road. And so I went to go and be with Delta Company, and it was this outpost at this bridge. It was right where that shit went down.
Right.
And I'm talking, there's no, I know I got there, I'm like, so where's the bathroom? They're like, oh, it's this tube. Not that we had nice bathrooms at the last place, it was just a portage on, but I was like, okay, the tube, and then we shit in bags.
Right.
And I was like, so how do we like shower or whatever? And they're like, oh, you get 2 water bottles.
Jesus
one's
Christ.
for lathering, one's for rinsing.
Right.
I'm like, okay. And pretty cool though. But my first 24 hours out there, it was like, I'm sitting on my my cot, and they're like, fire mission, which for Mormon, that means like, get out to the tube.
Yep.
And so I run out there, and then it was like, it was everything I had trained for, but it was like, holy crap. Because usually it's like they give you some type of grid, and it's a planned target or whatever. This was troops in contact, danger close. So these guys are engaged somewhere within our range, and they're calling for fire, and it's within a certain range of them.
It's like 200 meters or something. Is that danger
it's 200
close?
or 300,
okay,
something like that. And so we're doing this, and then we get another fire mission. So now we're going in between 2 fire missions with 1 gun.
Yeah.
And this is for a moving target. Like, we're trying to get a truck that's like within a mile.
Yeah.
Because we're using the 120 millimeter at this time. And it was just, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, wow, this is what I've been training for.
Yeah.
And we were successful and everything. And I was just like, okay, so this is how it is. And I remember when they told me I went out there, like, because I was like, what do I need to pack? Because I'm leaving my main bulk of my stuff at our base. And they're like, oh, just enough to, whatever. I was like, what about cold stuff? And they're like, oh, no, man, you're only going to be out there for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. 3 months.
3 months.
So like winter hit, which winter out there is nothing compared to here, obviously. But when you're used to 100,
sure.
120,
blood gets a little thinner.
It drops down to, 70, and you're like, I had no winter stuff.
Yeah.
I was like tripling up my t-shirts.
Yeah.
And like, I remember I got sick, and they were out of like medicine. And at this point too, they didn't have enough water for cleaning yourself. So there was only enough water to drink, which is fine. But I mean, I went, I don't know how long without a shower.
Yeah.
You just try to use baby wipes the best you could, but you still had to shave every day.
Seriously, they were still getting on you about that out there?
I don't know if it was every day, but you could not walk around with a 5 o'clock shadow.
Fuck.
But it was funny. So the guys you're so dirty that this from here to here is clean, like cheek to jaw, because you put shaving cream on and dry shave it off. But it was just an experience, man. And then from there, I got to go home for 2 weeks. Came back, and then I was back on EOD escort. Then I went to other gun lines for other companies, and the one night they're like, Reynolds, it was like 10 o'clock at night. Just got back from the gym.
Yeah, right.
I say it with quotation marks. They're like, you're going out with Alpha Company. And I'm like, okay, what's the deal? They're like, oh, it's going to be an air assault mission. I was like, who else is coming with me? They're like, it's just you. I was like, okay, what am I bringing? And they're like, you're going to bring a 60 millimeter mortar, which I'd barely fired that system.
Yeah.
I was mainly doing 120s and 81 millimeter. And so I like load up there. I'm like, how many rounds should I bring? Like, what's going on? So I think when I ended up weighing myself, and I weighed like 300 pounds.
Wow.
Like, it was insane.
So you're packing out more than you're weighing.
It was, because I was carrying
close.
I was carrying 10 mortar rounds, the mortar tube, and then my rifle.
Sure.
And I had a grenade launcher on it. So I'm carrying those grenades, and I'm carrying 7 or 8 magazines of M4 ammo. And I mean, I was just, and all the body armor, everything.
Yeah.
I was just like, holy crap, I'm going to be on a helicopter. And I've never done an air assault mission.
Yeah.
And so I go and link up with Alpha Company, and the sergeant's like, hey, you're going to be with this chopper. I'm like, okay. And so I introduced myself to the guys. I'm like, I guess I'm your mortarman, this, that, and the other. And we had some Iraqi soldiers with us. Didn't speak a lick of English. And they had never been on a helicopter either. Well, I mean, I'd been on a helicopter, just not in a
mission, right?
Yeah. And so they explained to me, like, we're going to land here, and then we're going to get off in this order, like this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay. And it's like 2 o'clock in the morning by this point. Finally, the choppers show up, got my night vision on, which I don't know if you ever worn night vision.
No.
Like, in the commercials, every dude looks like a badass, right?
Right, yeah, right.
Dude, you have no depth perception.
Right.
You're walking around like an idiot. Like, so load up on the helicopter, and prior to this, like, I want to say a couple weeks before this, my timelines might be slightly off, but I know this happened right before. Another company from our unit had landed in a hot LZ. Like, they came under fire instantly and lost a guy. Like, door opened, burst a AK.
Right.
And so everybody was kind of on edge a little bit. Because, I mean, yeah, choppers, you have surprise, but how much surprise?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're flying over. I'm looking out the window with my night vision. No lights anywhere. I'm like, okay, we're landing in the middle of a farm field. And so we start to come down, and they're like, all right, get ready, you guys. And they're like, you're the first one out to me. It's like, all right. And I'm sitting next to 2 Iraqis that are like shitting their pants.
Sure.
They've never been up that high, you
right.
know? And so as we're coming down, I'm like, man, we're coming down quick. And the ground's getting closer. And they're like, all right, let's go. And it's that moment right before it hits. And so I stand up, all my gear on, backpack on, everything. And we just skipped across this farm field. Everybody's bouncing. I thought we had maybe crashed.
Right.
Iraqi dudes are screaming. And I'm just trying to, like, not crush my buddies.
Right.
And then finally it comes to, like, a stop. Door slides open, and I just collapse out.
Yeah.
But I'd landed on my right ankle. Like, all my weight.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't think to this day I've ever screamed that loud.
Yeah.
But no one could hear me.
Right.
The chopper was so loud. And everybody just kind of ran over me or fell on top of me. And then I'm laying on the ground, and I'm like, I think I just snapped my ankle. I'd never broken a bone before.
Sure.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the chopper go away, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is how I go home. I was like, I'm going home for a broken ankle.
Right.
Beginning of the mission.
Fucking sucks.
I'm like, I'm with a unit that's not, or a company that's not my company.
Yep.
I'm here trying to prove myself, this, that, and the other.
Look at this asshole.
Like,
breaks his ankle.
Chopper leaves, dead quiet. The platoon leader or whatever, he's like, everybody good? No. He's like, who is that? I'm like, it's Reynolds. Like, who's Reynolds? I'm like, the motorman. And they're like, what's wrong? I'm like, my ankle. And they're like, can you make it to this house over there? I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
And so I hobbled, like, excruciating pain. And
ankles are the worst.
I mean, I've rolled it, but not to this extent. And medic came over to look at me, and he's like, don't take off your boot.
Right.
Like, don't you want to look at my ankle? And he's like, stand on it. And I'm like, this is, like, he's like, how bad's the pain? I'm like, a 10, like, straight up.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you're standing on it. I was like, okay. And he's like, it's not broken.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you take off your boot, your ankle's going to blow up.
Yep.
He's like, can you tie it tighter? I was like, I guess. And then, so in my head, I'm like, because they're like, if we call for medevac right now, the whole entire mission's compromised. We were supposed to go and check some certain houses and then pick a fight.
Yeah.
Like, make ourselves known, and then hopefully they ambush us. And then we had choppers on standby to come in and clean up. And so in my head, I'm like thinking back to the mission brief. I'm like, man, we got like 5 more miles.
On a fucked up ankle.
Yeah. And not easy terrain either.
Yeah.
And then I'm the only motorman. It's not like anybody else is certified to do this. And in my head, I'm just thinking, like, because mortars are kind of like the bastards of the infantry. I don't know how to explain it. I always said we were bastards of the infantry, bitches of the battalion.
Yeah.
Because we'd always get tasked out with, like, the bitch work. And then, like, regular infantry guys would always be kind of jealous because sometimes we just got to hang out in the mortar pits while they had to do whatever. But, so it's always like you had something to prove. So then I'm now, like, one guy's like, hey, do you want me to carry some of your mortar rounds? I'm like, no, I'm good. I was not good.
Yeah.
And
I get the mindset, though.
Yep. So now I'm like, okay, I'm going to finish this. And we're going through, searching house by house. Sun's finally starting to come up a little bit. Nothing significant really happened. I almost shot a dog at one point just because it was about to attack me. But the whole time, I know I'm supposed to be like 360 security, this, that, and the other. And the whole time, I'm just like, my ankles.
Yeah, right.
And like I'm already sweating from all my gear on, but I'm sweating even more holding in the pain. So you're just in your own head, you know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. And kind of just giving your own self a pep talk the entire time. And so we're going in these buildings, and they're like, go and set up mortars on the roof. And these aren't like normal steps. These are steps made out of mud.
Yeah.
Not even. No hand railing.
Right.
So then you're like putting all the weight on.
Every step's a struggle.
And then as soon as you get it set up, and you're like, oh, I can rest for a second. They're like, all right, next house. Damn it. And so I remember we were walking across this field, and then we came up to a canal.
So you got to hop over this fucking thing?
It was too big to hop, and so this dude laid like a 2x4. So then I had to walk on a 2x4.
Right.
Man.
Basically all the worst things you could possibly have to do with a broken ankle.
And then the whole time, too, I'm like, I'm the tallest motherfucker. We can say motherfucker, right?
You can say anything you want.
NC-17.
Like,
I'm the tallest motherfucker out here walking across this big empty farm field. If someone wanted to pick somebody up.
Yeah, you're a lightning rod.
Here's a guy carrying a bunch of gear, tall as hell, and he's limping.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah.
And then there's a camera crew there, like an army camera crew following us. And I remember there was a female, and she was kind of directing the cameraman on what to do. And I feel like they just kept putting the camera on me. And I'm usually a really polite dude,
right?
Especially to like strangers, unless you disrespect me. And she just kept putting the camera on me, and I finally was just like, quit putting that fucking thing on me. I was like, I don't need people back home seeing me limping around like a little bitch.
Or somebody out in the field thinking, oh, he must be somebody important. Yeah. And they keep shooting a camera at him.
So at one point there was we were coming up to a house, and we had squirters. Squirters is like
people running out
squirting out the back.
Yep.
And so instantly it went from we're at a 5 to a 10 of intensity. And you start hearing those pop shots. Everybody starts running for cover. Yeah, he's hobbling, right, looking like an idiot, just like And the dude's got away, I guess, or whatever. I was in the back most of the time. Made it through though. They had radioed my platoon medic, because my platoon medic was back at the base. And like, just so you know, like one of your guys, his ankle's pretty messed up. And so we finally get back on the chopper, and I'm just like,
that's got to be like the best once you get on there.
Yeah, I mean, it had gone on for I don't know how many hours. It was probably like noon or 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
By the time we're getting back to base. And we get on the chopper, and I'm just like, I don't know how to just. I finally let myself like really feel the pain.
Yep.
And I'm just like, oh man.
Some of those endorphins roll off, and
you know, it was like a 20-minute helicopter ride. So we land, and like helicopters aren't staying; they're just dropping us off.
Yep.
And have you ever ridden on a helicopter?
No.
So when you get off, like the propeller blast kind of pushes you down a little bit. Plus, I'm tall, so you just you kind of stay crouched. I'm just like, oh my gosh! I maybe went 10 steps and just fell to my knees. And the helicopter took back off. My medic was sitting there waiting, and 2 of my guys, they just came up, and I just stayed right where I was. I rolled onto my back, and they just started taking my gear off me. Yeah. And my medic put me on his back, and then carried me all the way to the aid station. And they took off my boot, and he's like, "Oh, it doesn't look too bad." So he went and got some bandages and stuff. Came back. He was like, "What the heck?" All my toes swelled up. My whole foot turned black and blue. And then they're like, "All right, don't like you can't go on any missions for like 3 weeks. Like you gotta stay off this thing. Here's a crutch."
Yeah.
3 days later, they're like, "We need you out there, man." I was like, "All right,
tape it up."
Yep. And they put me in like I'd be like in the gun turret and stuff, where you're still standing up, but you're not walking around.
Right.
So I mean, it was still hurting, and it's not Humvees are not comfortable for anybody. I think over 5'11".
Right.
Like it's just crunched, wearing all that gear.
Worst injury I ever had, 17 years of strength athletics, was an ankle I landed on wrong, and it fucking did the same thing. You know, big swelled up.
Did it snap though?
Didn't snap, just swelled up like crazy and painful, and you can't do. It's stupid because it's a little tiny
something so small can,
but it screws everything up.
Yep.
Yeah, that's that was the worst injury I ever had. Not, you know, thank God, but it's so stupid. You feel like an idiot because it's an ankle. You didn't get shot in the chest. You know? Right.
But I refer to that story, I think, all the time, just in my own head.
So, but that's a good segue into this. Is, you know, we talked about not quitting and having that mental toughness. Where do you think you derived that from? Is that something that was from as a child, or from having 6 siblings, or?
I think definitely at least part of it comes from there. Wanting to always, because my brothers were older, always wanting to be able to hang.
Yep.
You know, they were playing street hockey.
Yep.
I'm the smallest person out there, but I'll be the meanest.
Yep.
You know, I think, and just even like I remember my grandparents. My grandpas were probably the toughest guys I ever knew.
Yeah.
Even though they looked old and everything, but like work ethic and
different generation for sure.
I remember my grandpa got his finger ripped off on a garage door, and like totally kept his cool.
Yeah.
I was just like, I need to go to the hospital. Like, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah, it's a totally different. You know, when you talk about masculinity now, and you know, I doing this podcast, I have to seek out guys like you. It's not like they're walking around on the streets everywhere, and that's super frustrating for me. But you know, that World War II generation had it in abundance. They went out and saved the world, and then you kind of. I'm hoping that these are just ebbs and flows. So you know, you had that World War II generation that was, you know, they were savages, and then they came back and gave birth to that baby boom generation with the hippies and everything that kind of screwed everything up. And then I think the Generation X guys kind of came up, and they were a little bit, they didn't want to be like that baby boom generation. But now we've given birth to the fucking millennials, you know, and it just ebbs and flows and ebbs and flows.
I mean, I think that's just the circle of life in a way. You know,
I'm hoping that's
the
what
pendulum.
it is.
It always has to go extreme before it can come back to normal.
That's what I'm hoping. You know? That's exactly what I'm thinking.
That's almost how I treat dieting.
Whatever.
When I do a diet, I'll usually like try out, okay, I read about this one. I will go the hardcore way with it. Like, do it correct. And it usually doesn't work for me in the results that I want.
Yeah.
Yes, I might lose weight or I might whatever, but energy levels are off.
Right.
So I always go to the extreme because I got to see what it is, and then I adjust accordingly, and then it swings back, and then I find that middle ground.
Yep.
You know, but I think that's how it is with anything, like people getting offended now.
Yeah.
Like, man, it ramped up. Like, it is insane. But I think it almost has to go that far just so we can see how ridiculous it is. And now it's going to come back for a while. And then from there, I'll probably just go back to now where none of us are politically correct anymore.
Right.
We got to go extreme. You know,
it's crazy to me that, and what I see a lot is a lack of honor among men, which drives me nuts.
In which sense?
I'm trying to tell a story without getting the person to know that I'm telling a story about him.
Taking pride in yourself?
Taking pride in yourself. I think, you know, I think being less selfish around, you know, these men who have families and wives and kids and not focusing on themselves and being that guy who the silent hero, you know, that isn't always promoting themselves and taking care of their families and not always thinking about themselves and what they can get out of this. And, you know, when I see that rare individual who is in it for the right reasons, you know, they're protective of their wife and they're protective of their family and they're doing all the things right, that becomes such a rarity nowadays. Instead of, you know, taking pictures of themselves, you know, selfies and I'm in front of this thing on, you know, and
like that quiet confidence.
Quiet confidence, quiet professionals. It's that goes back to those old westerns, you know, where they had to drag the hero into the fray. You know, he just wanted to mind his own business, you know, and when he's done, he just wants to go back to his normal life, you know. And I don't know how much of that is mythological and how much of it isn't, but, you know, you run into people, and I've run into so many people on this podcast, and I think a lot of it comes down to that desire to be a little uncommon among the rest of society. You know, you live just a little bit differently, and you push yourself just a little bit harder. And when I'm doing super hard workouts, you know, there's such an inner monologue going on in my head, calling myself a pussy, and, you know, you can't quit, you bitch, you got to keep going, you know. And I just I wonder how much of that is in other people's heads. I mean, would you have that inner monologue when you're going through something like that? I mean, when you're walking around with a broken or a fucked up ankle, I mean, what's going on?
I mean, I'm one of those. I don't know where this came from, but I take pride in everything I do. Like, I'm not just talking about work and workouts. Like, it could be. I remember I was a dishwasher.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm gonna be the best at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds stupid, but I don't know. Just
it makes sense. You're trying to be the best you, no matter what position you're put in.
And it's one of those things where, I mean, in a combat situation, a lot of times people are like, "Oh, how did you do that?" Because I mean, I was there for 15 months.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could never do that. I'm like, you could, if you had no choice. Now, granted, yes, I have a choice in the sense of I could have found a way out of it.
Yeah. Right.
The coward way, like I could have been like, "Oh, I'm mentally ill."
Right.
I don't know, something. And I don't know, man. I think in a way we're a rare breed. Like part of it's instilled in you, and part of it's just there.
Yeah.
Or that part that's instilled wakes up that other.
Yeah.
The other half. That. I mean, were you a stubborn kid growing up?
So yeah, I was a stubborn kid.
I was stubborn as hell.
And I just wrote something about this, about how the majority, I can remember the earliest parts of any kind of athletic success I came from coming because my mother, who is a wonderful human being, would say something like, I remember when I first started playing football, and I was like in the 6th grade, and she came up to me after dinner and said, "Your father thinks you're going to quit after the first practice." I was like, fuck that, and so I played for 7 years. I didn't even really like football.
Just out of spite.
Just fuck them, I'll never quit,
Man.
But that's the way I was, and that's the way I always, and now it's like totally psychotic in my head. Nobody's coming up to me and saying that shit, but I'm picturing it. Oh, that motherfucker, he thinks I can't beat him. He thinks I can't do that, so I'll just go at whoever I'm thinking about has no fucking idea they're in my head, but I'm just getting after it because I don't want to be the guy who lost and quit, and but that's psychotic,
You don't let people down, and like, it's not that I want to be better than everyone, but I've always kind of always strive to be better than the guy next to you.
Yeah.
Because you should always try to surround yourself with good people.
Yep.
So as long as you're trying to be better than Isaac.
Right. That's why I love Isaac.
Yeah, I love keeping people around me like that. Isaac's definitely one of the rarest humans I've ever met.
Here's a guy who, had here's a guy who had a military career that I have to drag things out of him because he doesn't want to talk about it. Yep. Here's a guy who had a job that, when I looked at it, what you guys did sounds like the most fucking fun. When you're doing the security stuff.
It was.
And he quit to do manual labor, where he's hauling 90-pound slabs of stone all over the place. He's got 4 kids, but he's one of those quiet professionals who just gets shit done. And I think we need more of those people. And it's those kind of people that I like to get on the show, because I want. Everyone talks about masculinity being under assault in this country. I don't know how much it is, and how much of it's just bullshit social media nonsense.
Some things just naturally evolve too. Like, yeah, maybe guys aren't as manly as they used to be, and there are people there that have no masculinity at all.
But
there's always going to be that. I don't know. Like, why not just? I don't know. 'Cause, I mean, I feel like I'm different than my dad.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I'm just as much of a man.
Right.
But, I mean, he thought me doing punk rock was the stupidest thing ever.
Right.
And, like, why are you wearing that? Or I had piercings in my face.
Yeah.
My hair was weird colors, but, like, I still had what was in me.
Yeah.
Like the drive and the stubbornness.
And you were late teens, early 20s. I mean, how we all got to figure out who we are.
And, we just didn't understand it and stuff. And I still am part of the punk rock community, and I still play music to this day. Just not as often. I'm not pursuing it as a career.
Right.
I still pursue to sound good.
Yeah.
And whenever I write a song, I'm trying to write the best song I've ever written. But it's so we can enjoy it.
Yeah.
So me and my band, And we'll book a show. How much do you guys charge? And we're like, just give us some beer.
Yeah.
And we're good. Like, I just want to play some songs and hang out with my friends and drink beer. Like,
yeah.
But
what are you doing now? Are you still with the team?
No, that was only a 2-year contract.
Okay.
But
and I don't know. Am I allowed to talk about that? What you guys did, or you talk about it? I don't know what the rules are.
About it.
Right. I tell you, you say what you can say about it, and
it's just like I know pretty much all that we could talk about, but I always worry that once I get going, I'll say too much.
Too much, right?
Because you might go into some story and you're like, oh crap, there's some details in there.
Basically, you were running and testing security at power plants.
We were like an an opposition force.
Right.
We were bad guys 24/7 type deal.
Yeah.
And
trying to test their security.
In a way, we were considered the best the industry has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And then they assign us a task, and that's all we focus on.
Right.
And we do our. I mean, it's a group of alphas.
And
when I say alphas, like, it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like the group of guys, I was just like, what? Like, yeah. When I was in the military, there's a good amount of alphas, but there's a lot of beta bitches too. You know?
Well, David Goggins explained it as being uncommon amongst uncommon men. So there's tiers to that, you know. And it seems like that's what you were surrounded by.
I want to say 80% of that team we were on was like, not just like, oh, this guy has alpha personality,
right?
But like alpha through and through.
Yeah.
But like smart enough to still be professional.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
cockiness.
Yeah. Yep.
Because there's like the verbal alpha male.
Sure.
You know,
the guy who tells you he's a MMA fighter in the bar kind of deal.
He's at the gym screaming and yelling and everything else. And then there's guys like Isaac.
Yep.
We keep bringing him up. But, and it's, everybody's from different areas, different backgrounds. And not even everybody's military. There's some guys who are part of law enforcement, or some guys who were just straight studs.
Yeah.
I mean, one dude was an excellent boxer, like Golden Gloves of the entire state of Pennsylvania. And I think when we were at the selection process, we were doing small talk, because some guys quit selection, some guys get sent home, and I had gotten assigned to his room halfway through because my roommate had gotten sent home, and we were just doing small talk. And I was like, "Yeah, man. Before this, I was doing." He's like, "I just won the Golden Gloves like 2 weeks ago."
Yeah,
and now he's here.
Right?
You know, I'm like, whoa! But it's just that group of guys, man. Like, there's nothing. I mean, I'm not saying I'm glad it's over, but I'm thankful that was a step in my life.
You got to be a part of that.
Yeah, it was a good experience, and you don't want to do it too long anyway.
Right.
You know, it was good, and it's opened more doors for me. I learned a shit ton about my profession, and just dealing with people.
Yeah.
In general, it was just, and I've taken a lot of that, and I've been building something like a smaller version of that back at my job in Michigan.
What do you do now?
I'm still within nuclear security. Okay. But like every nuclear site has something that's similar to that. Mm-hmm. It's just not on that national scale.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to carry over those standards and my experience into that.
Building your team.
Yeah. But building it the way I see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
And it's pretty much the same. Like, everybody's on the same page. Yeah, and everybody's a PT stud because we're not doing it every day.
Yeah, right.
You know, they have lives that they have to tend to and still have to work their normal jobs. You know, but I enjoy it.
Well, that's one of the things. We just started this program looking at working with tactical people. I'm going back to get a certification to just work with tactical people. And it's one of the things that bugs me. We had the National Guard recruiter in here, and he's talking about they're in a slow period right now where they've got like 60 or 70 guys out there. And he's saying like 30 or 40 of them can't pass the basic PT test to get in. So I look at that.
Come on, guys that are about to join?
Yeah, and they can't pass the basic National Guard PT test. But then I get police officers who are in the same boat. Like, they can't run, they can't do a pull-up, they have
To try out for the police force?
No, that are already on. Well, both, actually.
Part of the problem is how they have that structured.
Yeah.
Because I think, isn't they take one PT test at the beginning of their career and
So
that's it?
they have the PT test every year, at least for the departments around here, but it's voluntary. And if you pass it, you get an extra $3,000 a year. So they don't have to take it, but if they do take it and pass, they get an extra $3,000 a year, and some guys just can't, refused, and they told me the standards, and they're fucking, I mean, they're nothing. I mean, super easy. They're just push-ups, sit-ups, and run I think it's a mile and a half run in under 13 minutes or something. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
But part of what I want to do, and I was a corrections officer for 19 years, and I was in a ton of altercations where I wasn't in shape like I am now, but I was a 300-pound strength athlete. So, as long as the fight was under a couple minutes, I was okay, But even looking at my old self back then, I've been like, fuck, dude, what if backup isn't coming for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have been good on the road, that's for sure. And I look at these guys, and I just want them to take this seriously, because I think we'd have less stupid YouTube videos of cops getting their asses beat, or less shootings because they're pulling their gun when they probably could handle them with their fists if they were in better condition. And it's one of those things that is a passion of mine, is trying to get these guys in shape, and we're getting kids trying out for the military who I don't think have any idea of what physical condition. That you shouldn't just go into the military and think, oh, if I can hit the minimum standards, I'll be all right.
No.
That's something in the tank.
And some of it depends what job you go to in the military, or what unit, what task you're going to be having. But I wasn't in the best shape when I joined, but thank God, like, I can't imagine going to basic training and not knowing how to work out. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
Not knowing what muscle soreness is and stuff like that. Because you're just going to make your life a lot harder.
Yeah.
You might still get from point A to point B, but it's going to be a hell of a travel. Like,
we had a girl stop in here, and I think I told this on Isaac's podcast. She stops in, probably 18, 19 years old, hair done great, nails all perfect, walks in with a Starbucks, and she says, hey, I want to join the gym, and I'm leaving for the Marine Corps in 3 months. I said, 90 days is about what I need to get you in some semblance of shape.
Decent prep time.
And she goes, well, I want to join today. And I said, well, why don't you try it for a week first? See if you like it, and then we'll sign you up. Nope, I want to join today. Gives me your credit card. And so I sign her up, and I said, well, did you bring clothes? No, I'm getting a tattoo tomorrow, so I need a week to recover from the tattoo. So now I'm like scratching my head, and Isaac was over there. And I said, Isaac, come over here. And I said, this girl wants to be in the Marine Corps. And then I just walked away, So Isaac talked to her, and I never saw her again. She ended up, I think it took a couple months for her to actually text me to say, hey, can you take me off the auto pay, because she was embarrassed. But I don't know if she ever went into the military, but anytime I get somebody in here who I look at and just go, oh, God, you're not ready, I'll make Isaac talk to him. And we have other guys who are, what gets me is we have a guy like Kevin. Kevin was in the Army, and he's my age. He's probably 45, 44. But he still looks like he could deploy him right now. He's still got that mentality where he's going to stay in shape, and probably will stay in shape for the rest of his life. And he's a cop, and I don't think a lot of these people understand the concept that they're warriors.
Yeah, and even with, like, in a way, I feel like the better shape I get in, the more confidence.
Right, absolutely.
Not the confidence, like, look at me in the mirror confidence.
Right.
But just confidence in my body and the way I can perform.
We talked about performance. That's the key.
I wish I would have had the knowledge I have now then. I lifted weights once prior to the Army.
Yeah.
I was in wrestling my sophomore year of high school.
Right.
I didn't join until I was 22.
Yeah.
But it was just, we had to go in the gym. They're like, if you can't bench your own body weight, you're not going to participate in the tournament tomorrow. Well,
Yeah.
they just wanted to see if you had to put up your own body weight once.
Right.
But I had to take a practice PT test prior to me joining, and I failed push-ups.
Yeah.
Like, just the strength was not there. And this is when they were desperate. The guy's like, you'll be fine. He's like, you'll figure out when you're there.
Yeah.
Okay, but my run was decent.
Yeah.
My sit-ups were decent. And there's no pull-ups.
Right.
For the PT test. Obviously, you do pull-ups, but not tested on. And first PT test in basic training, fail.
Yeah.
But I think they kind of set it up that way anyway. Like, because they'll just be like, no rep, no rep.
Yeah,
no
right.
rep. And then the last PT test, 4 months later, I barely passed push-ups.
Yeah.
Like, it took me just to climb the rope. It wasn't part of the PT test.
Yeah.
They're like, you're not going to finish basic if you can't climb this rope.
Right.
It took me, I think, 2 months.
They let you use your feet, or you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it
yeah.
took me 2 months to get it down.
Yeah, there's a
Go
technique
50
for
foot.
that.
I don't know.
Sure.
But that's what I'm saying, though. But
yep.
you could come somewhere like here.
Learn that shit.
Yeah. Or just any of that. It's not even necessarily getting in the best shape prior to, but you can at least learn how to
Little techniques and tricks.
not hurt yourself or to make things easier or just proper.
Well, and that's the other thing is the mobility stuff that, I can help them not get hurt, which is, I mean, if you take an untrained individual and throw them into a boot camp, you got a good chance that you're going to, herniate a disc or blow your ankles out or whatever,
And that was my biggest fear when I was in basic. Because I was like, if I get hurt, they're going to restart.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do not want that to happen. Because you saw it happen to dudes and you're just like, no.
You hear about the guys going through buds and they'll get almost to the end and, break a leg or something. They restart them. It's like, God, that would be like the worst.
I had a buddy who went to special forces selection and broke his ankle.
Yeah.
But he didn't break his ankle till like the last quarter of it. And then so they're just like, yeah, go back to your unit. It's like, it's over. And then they're like, you can try out again when you're healed up. And he ended up getting out. But I can't imagine.
Yeah, that's that would be so brutal. You're psyched yourself up for this, and you've gone through it, and then I'll have to restart you. I mean, that'll tell you how much you really want it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I've got a buddy who's I don't know what the fuck he is. I know he went through Green Beret school, and he was at one time a Green Beret. I don't know what he does now because he won't tell me. So I don't know how far down where he's at. He just will say, I was a Green Beret. Let's leave it at that. And that I don't ask him any more questions, So, but he's always, every once in a while, he'll pop up on social media with this fake ass name and say, hey, I'm somewhere, but he won't tell me what he's doing, which is, we talked about that, being that silent professional, So, Eric, if you're out there, keep kicking ass, buddy.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here is, so Isaac was telling me that you live in the most, not the most wonderful neighborhood in the world. Not because, according to him, it's not because you don't have the means to get out of there. It's because you like to live there to stay hard.
No.
That's what he was telling me.
I live there because it's cheap. No,
he told me you live there just to stay, like,
my
operational.
Is not that bad. Yes, crime happens. But crime happens everywhere. My neighborhood.
Where are you, don't tell us, the neighborhood, but are you in Detroit?
I'm a mile outside.
Okay.
Like, Detroit city line starts.
You're not, in the Iron Curtain or anything.
I find it funny because when people are like, oh, we're going to go downtown. I'm like, downtown is nothing.
Right.
Downtown's nice.
It's actually, downtown Detroit is kind of nice,
But, I mean, it's the neighborhoods that, it's different. It's a different way of life.
We used to go up every year. It's actually, it was yesterday. We used to go for the Detroit Highland Games in Livonia.
That was yesterday.
Yeah.
I almost went to that, actually.
I used to compete there every year. So one year we were going up there, me and my son.
Actually, I grew up in Livonia.
Oh, did you?
That's where I went to high school.
Yeah. Kurt Pauly runs that games. It's great games. But one year I got lost, and I'm in this neighborhood. Luckily, it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the fuck? All these burned out houses. And I pull up to a gas station, and there's a cop in the gas station. I pull up, and he's looking at me like I had 3 heads. And I said, hey, I'm lost. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing down here? I said, I'm trying to get to Livonia. He goes, man, you are way far from Livonia. So he says, follow me out of here. And then, I shit you not, this is a true story. He goes, follow me out of here and don't stop for any red lights. I was like, okay. So he's got his flashers going, and I'm following him. We're just blasting through red lights. And he takes me to the edge of whatever this neighborhood is, and he says, well, now you can tell your friends you were in the Iron Coffin of Detroit. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but my son tells that story all the time because he was like 5 years old or something when it happened.
There's neighborhoods I won't stop.
Yeah.
I won't stop at stop signs. I won't stop at red lights.
That's what he told me to do. He said, just keep following me.
There was one night I was trying to get back into Livonia, and I was coming through Detroit, and there was just a body like in the middle of the road.
Right.
I was like, but it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I'm not stopping.
No.
You never know. It could be someone that's hurt. It could be someone who's just passed out, or it could be them setting
straight up ambush.
Yeah. So I just drove around it, and I was like,
Livonia, on the other hand, is gorgeous.
Very nice. Very nice. I can't afford to live in Livonia. Well, I probably could.
Probably hard. It used to be in Grosse Pointe Shores, it was on the Ford estate. And then they moved it out to Livonia, and it's been out there ever since. But yeah, we used to go up there every year. It's this weekend.
Green Meat or whatever it is.
Yeah, historic, yeah.
It's like 7 mile or 8 mile in Newburgh.
Right, yeah. Get your ass up above 8 mile.
My girlfriend lives around there, yeah. No, 8 mile in Livonia is nice. What are you telling me?
Right, yeah.
You just got to go more east, then it's a different story.
It gets a little bit, yeah. I used to do that one all the time, and then we go up to there and go up to all the way up to Sarnia for games up there too. But are you like training in a gym up there, or?
Currently, no. I have a membership at a gym that I've been paying it, and I haven't been there in 5 months.
You probably love. My buddy's got a gym up there, and it's somewhere around Detroit called Strength Depot, and you'd probably dig it. It's a lot like this place.
Sounds familiar.
A lot of big ass tires and Atlas stones. It's cool because this is what's cool about it. So it's a warehouse gym just like this. It's next door to this vintage car restore. So this guy brings in these like $150,000 cars and brings them back. You get a hold of Shane, who runs the place, and he brings you out for an interview. Just make sure you're a guy like us before he lets you in the gym. If you're like just some punk kid, he doesn't care about the money. He's like, I don't need you, and it's like super cheap, but he only lets guys in that are just.
It's not a judgment-free zone.
Nope. You have to be willing to work, and you have to not be a dickhead, and you have to be someone who's secure enough not to fuck with the vintage cars next door, So, yeah, Shane's a good dude.
Strength
Depot.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll tag you in something today. You can check it out. But
yeah, I've been looking for something else too. So I've just been working out at the gym I have at work, and it gets the job done, but it's not.
Yeah, Shane's got all the toys. You'll probably dig it. I'll hook you up with him, and you guys can talk it out. I'm sure you won't have any problems getting in the door there. So he said he just threw some kid out the other day who was, just a young kid who was not being cool to the other members, and he doesn't need the money. He just, he's an engineer, so he's got a good job. He just likes his gym he does a lot of charity work out of it and shit. So
that's a cool,
good dude.
That's definitely a different approach to the business strategy. I like that.
Yeah, I always told my wife we're getting ready to move here in about 4 or 5 years, and I said if this podcast keeps growing the way it's growing, I'd like this to be my primary job, and then have a gym like that where it's just like, if you're not an Isaac type, I don't really want you in here. If you're not going to bring the whole gym up, what do I need you for?
Exactly.
So, but yeah, man, anything else you want to talk about? Was this as scary as you thought it was going to be?
I was just like, because I'm not like a huge fitness guru type person. I'm not educated in it,
I'm interested in what's between your ears,
But Isaac was like, he's just gonna ask you about the military and some fitness stuff. I was like, well, I guess. Okay.
Your text is the same text I get from every single person who wants to call on a show. They're like, what are we going to talk about? Do you have a list of questions? I'm like, I never even think about it until we get in the room.
Well, I ended up like over the last couple of days, looking you up, listening to some stuff, and I'm like, okay, it's not just, hey, we're gonna talk about this.
No.
Sometimes it derails a little bit, and it comes back, and
the most boring thing we can talk about is how many sets and reps did you do on this exercise, you know?
I'm macros.
Yeah, right? You know, I'm not interested in any of that shit. And people have good stories. They don't even realize they have good stories, you know? Everybody thinks they're boring. But
that's what most people want to hear anyway.
Absolutely. You know, and that's what I'm interested in. And I'll pick your brain about other people I should be talking to, and we'll go from there. But, man, I want to thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
I'd love to do it again sometime. Maybe we'll finally get Isaac in here, too.
Gruesome twosome.
Right, that's right. All right. You're on social media. You hardly ever post anything, but if you want to give out your social media, you're more than welcome to.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But
Facebook is deactivated. I think I have like 5 posts on Instagram.
So close to deactivating
it's
Facebook.
So much better.
I've got my business stuff on there, but my personal one I'm about ready to get rid of. It's just not used.
I can't access like my band's Facebook.
Yeah.
So, like, part of me is like, maybe I should, I don't know, maybe I'll just make another profile or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I hate Facebook. Like I said, if I didn't have a business, I don't think I'd be on social media at all. But I've got 2 Instagram pages just because I'm promoting the business. I'm promoting the podcast, and it is what it is. It's 2019, but...
Well, I'm really getting into some video work, like videography.
Yeah.
So if you ever want to...
Actually, I'd love to talk to you about that.
I know you're probably trying to sign off or whatever.
I mean, I don't got anywhere to be.
Funny story.
Yeah.
I guess it's only funny to me and you, but when I looked you up, I was like, oh, we have a mutual person besides Isaac. And so you know the bodybuilder Angie Yo?
Yeah.
All right, so her husband is Jamie Yo.
Uh-huh.
So Jamie Yo I work with.
Oh, okay.
And I just got...
You still have the handlebars?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Oh, yeah. So I just got put on a temporary assignment at work where I'm like more of a kind of a desk position 60% of the time. And he's at the cubicle like right across from me.
Right.
And I told him how I've been getting into videography, and I'm not just trying to make joke videos anymore. Like I want to try and actually like make something.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, could you bring it up to your wife? I was like, I'll make a video, she can use it for content if she wants.
Right.
I won't release it, but I just want it for like my resume type deal.
Yeah.
And she's about it, so we're gonna do like a quick video with her, and then if she likes that, I'd like to do like profiler type or like day in the life of Angie Yo.
Man, if you ever want to do something like that, we'll do it. We'll get together and do it for sure.
I'm just always looking for new projects. Like I'll film almost anything.
Angie's a fucking maniac, man. Her podcast with me was eye-opening. I was like, I don't know, bodybuilder girl, but she's a monster,
and
man.
She's just different.
Yep. She's a different breed altogether. They go around looking for cemeteries and shit.
Yeah.
But
because I've known her husband for a while, and she went from like not working out at all, to like started to work out and pro within 3 years, maybe?
And she's got that mental game where she's never gonna give up. She's just got it. She is tough.
Yeah.
And I met them at a show, and I kind of saw her from afar. I was like, man, that chick's jacked as fuck. And he bought a T-shirt from me, and so I just kind of put it in the back of my brain who these two were, and went and Instagrammed them and found her and said, hey, you want to come talk? You know, and she did great. She had a great interview on the show. So yeah, those are great.
From Ohio too. So.
Yeah. Yep. Toledo. But yeah.
Small world, man.
Yeah, I had no idea, right?
Yeah, I didn't know until I looked you up, and I'm like, mutual friend. Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully I can do some video work with her soon. But I'd love to do other projects. Like if you got something going on, or you just want some.
Let's. I'll get a hold of you. I got your phone number now. We'll talk. I am horrible at that shit. I've got a kid who does all like our we talk into mics. I have no idea how it ends up on the internet. He does all that shit. But yeah, I'd love to do something like that, and yeah, we'll figure it out
for sure.
Cool. All right, brother. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Safe trip back up to Detroit.
Yep.
All right, brother. This has been the Refined Savage. See ya.